Thank you so much for joining us here on JoyNews Prime. Now, the NPP flag bearer aspirant, Alan Kyerematen, has officially withdrawn from the highly contested race. Mr. Kyerematen, who secured the third position in the recently held Super Delegate Conference, cited a multitude of intimidation tactics, both direct and indirect, as the primary reason for his decision. The aspiring candidate made this announcement following reports of alleged intimidation incident that occurred at various voting centers across all 16 regions during the party's selection process. Now, we'll look at that statement pretty shortly. And there it is on your screen. It says, on Sunday, the 27th of August 2023, I issued a public statement which made reference to the selection and shortlisting of presidential aspirants by the Special Electoral College convened by the New Patriotic Party, NPP, on the 26th of August 2023. Now, after having carefully analyzed the result of the said elections, it is absolutely clear to me from events leading to, during and after the elections that the Special Delegate Conference was strategically and tactically skewed in favor of one particular aspirant. Now, the pronouncement made by some leading members of our party, both before and after the elections, also lend weight to my observations. Now, the level of intimidation of varying intensity, directly and indirectly unleashed on a significant number of delegates at various voting centers across the 16 regions is unprecedented in the history of our party. In addition, the fact that my polling agent in the Northeast region has suffered severe damage to his eyesight arising from his bold and courageous effort to ensure compliance with the very rules and regulations for the conduct of the elections as approved by the Presidential Elections Committee will forever remain a dark spot in the history of the internal elections within the party. Now, the incident and various acts of violence and collusion reported in other voting centers are appalling, and he goes on to say, unconscionable and despicable. And he ends by saying, I'm committed to and value the safety of those who work with me, for me, and I'll always fight for their interests. And so that is the statement there from the Alan Kyerematen camp. I have been joined in studio by our analyst, data analyst Kofi Ajay in studio here. So share with us, what have you found out so far per the records of Alan Kyerematen?
Well, so we've been looking at Alan's trend in terms of his performance in all of the presidential race, and it's an interesting trend where Alan actually came in the scene in 2007. He contested against the current President Akufo-Addo, and in 2007, the candidate needed 50% plus one in order to become the flag bearer of the NPP. None of them, neither President Akufo-Addo or Alan Kyerematen, was able to get that 50% plus one. Alan, that was his first time contesting against President Akufo-Addo, was able to garner 32.3% of the vote. Then in 2010, after he was beaten in 2007, he came against President Akufo-Addo one more time, and he was defeated. Now, his performance then drops from that 39.2% to 19.91% in 2010. 2014, they introduced what we call the Super Delegate Conference because there were more than 10 candidates, more than 5 candidates on the ballot. So that was the first time we had it. President Akufo-Addo versus Alan again. And what we saw was that Alan then drops in percentage terms from that 32.3%, 2007, 19, and then drops to 9.87%. So at this point, you can see a steady decline in terms of Alan's performance or popularity as far as the NPP presidential race is concerned. Then comes 2014, the biggest drop. 2014, Alan drops from the 19.91% in 2010 now to 4.75%. So at this point, you would be convinced that per the data and holding other factors constant, Alan's popularity in the party kept dwindling. But it is also important and fair to note that if you compare his super delegate performance between 2014 and 2023, there is a marginal upward increase from what we call the 9.87% in 2014 to 10.27 and 29% in 2003. But if Alan is pulling out, Carlos, then we need to analyze one interesting factor of this whole election, what we call the Alan Kyerematen effect.
Okay.
So holding other variables constant, again, let me stress on that. Alan Kyerematen actually has an impact on what happens in the Ashanti region anytime he's defeated or anytime there's something goes wrong in the party. So for instance, in 2007, when he came into the scene, for instance, President Akufo-Addo then defeats him. What happened in the Ashanti region was that they actually, drop in their percentage terms in terms of the votes. They dropped by more than some 2 percentage points in 2000 in the main election in 2008. There you have it on your screen. So 2007, Alan got defeated. Then in the main election, Ashanti region drops by 4.75%. Then let's go to 2010. He lost again. What happened in the Ashanti region? The same trend continued, dropped by 1.6 percentage points. Then 2014, he lost, but he did something unique. He decided to now declare his support for President Akufo-Addo, went on campaign tour with him. What happened in Ashanti region? They now increased their vote by 5.4 percentage points. 2020, COVID-19. President Akufo-Addo was allowed to go unopposed. See what happened in the Ashanti region. There was a drop by 3.5 percentage points. So this is what we call the Alan effect. So if Alan Kyerematen is pulling out honorably, what is actually going to happen in the Ashanti region if we hold all other factors constant?
Which means this is likely to have some level of impact on the MPP's vote.
Absolutely. If we hold all other factors constant, per this data, there's some sort of interesting trend, but we hope to see elections have different dynamics, and we hope to see what happens in November 4th, and then also 2024.
All right. Thank you so much, my colleague Kofi Eje here in the Joy Newsroom, giving us those details about the Alan effect. Now, political marketing strategist Professor Kobe Mensah also joins us via Zoom with more analysis on this particular development. Mr. Kobe, if you can hear me, can you refer to this as a strategy? Hello, Prof. Professor Kobe Mensah. Yeah, so I want to know whether you see this as a strategy from the Alan camp.
Hello. Well, I'm not sure that it's a strategy. I think that is a genuine concern that he's expressing. Of course, he had.
Cannot hear you. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, Prof, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm saying that, well, of course, after the superdelegate elections, there were quite a number of concerns that had been outlined by various competitors. Boache Jaku had actually complained. Of course, Kennedy Japan had complained, and Alan's team had complained. And they had said that they were going to analyze the election and will come back later. I think that this is actually as a result of their displeasure against the processes that were put forward in the delegate elections, and they don't think that going forward in November, it would be an equal playing field. So I'm not sure it's a strategy, but I think that it's a very huge blow to the party. I think that it's a very grave concerns that he has, and he doesn't think that the process will inure to his benefit as a result of this particular statement.
All right, so do you see this having any impact at all on the MPP's performance going forward? Because all variables are on the table now. He could pull out, go independent. He can maybe join forces with Baumia. We don't know yet. But do you see this having any impact at all on the MPP's fortunes?
Of course, it's a huge dent on the party's brand, no doubt about it. Don't forget, the MPP is known as a due process, and that's what they pride themselves with. For a very stalwart of the party to come and level these allegations against the party, it actually spells out the cracks in the party, which they need to actually sit down closely and try and find solutions to them. And I think that it also undermined the November process. Remember, 5 candidates were supposed to go through in November. Of course, Alan Kyerematen having resigned, actually undermines the process because the conditions based on which he had pulled out, he says that he doesn't think that will be addressed. As a result, he's pulling out. It means that already people are anticipating that the November process will not be free and fair. And so it would go against the party's image. Come 2024, other opposing parties would actually use that against them. So certainly it has a lot to do with the party's image and its chances going forward.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Kobe Mensah, for your thoughts with us here on JoyNews Prime. Now, in a significant turn of events, Special Prosecutor Cecilia Dapaah has taken swift action to comply with an Accra High Court orders and freezing the account of former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapaah and returning the seized cash sums. However, the story takes a new twist as Mr. Ejebin invokes his statutory powers once more, refreezing and seizing the former minister's bank account and investment effective today. And so we will look at that statement pretty shortly, where he made the statements to actually, yes, exactly, there is it. So it says that Office of the Special Prosecutor, OSP, has complied with the ruling and order of the High Court, Accra, dated 31st August 2023, by unfreezing the frozen bank account and investment of Cecilia Dapaah. Now, the OSP has also returned the seized cash sum of Ms. Dapaah in the presence and assent of Ms. Dapaah and her lawyers. Now, the satisfaction by the OSP of the order of the High Court terminates the proceedings of the seizure of the cash amount from Ms. Dapaah commenced on July 24, 2023. And it goes on and on and on. So subsequent to the indicated ruling and order of the High Court and the compliance by the OSP with said ruling and order, the ongoing investigation by the OSP of Ms. Dapaah has uncovered varying and sometimes conflicting accounts of the ownership and sources of the large amount of money reportedly stolen from her residence. Now, the cash amount seized from her by the OSP and the nature and volume of transactions in a bank account and investment. Therefore, the Special Prosecutor has evoked the statutory power under Section 38(1) of Act 959 and Regulation 19 Clause 1 of LI 2374 by directing the freezing of the bank account and investment of Ms. Dapaah effective 5th September 2023, which is today as we speak. And so there you have it. It says that further subsequent to the indicated ruling and order of the High Court and the compliance by the OSP with said ruling and order, the Special Prosecutor considers that he has reasonable grounds to suspect that the cash amount seized and returned to Ms. Dapaah is tainted property, and it is necessary to exercise the power of seizure to prevent the concealment or loss of said cash amount. Therefore, the Special Prosecutor has again invoked his statutory power under Section Act 959 by directing the seizure from Ms. Dapaah of the cash amount previously seized from her. Authorized officers of the OSP have seized said cash amount from Ms. Dapaah. The Forestry Commission has been reacting to our hotline documentary, Forest Under Siege. In the 3-page document, the Commission said it was deeply concerned about the continuous destruction of forests across the country. Now, in part 1 of our series, residents of Odaho, Bibini and Krobo in the Ashanti region claim companies and individuals entered the Aprampraman forest with permits from state institutions under the pretext of reclamation while engaging in mining activities. So my colleague Erastus Asari Donko has more in the following report.
In the midst of all this destruction and the billions of dollars in gold taken from this area, communities remain the poorest.
They brought in a transformer and wired the town, so we thought we would be connected in about a year.
Benenebane community, for instance, is yet to be connected to the national electricity grid. It has been reduced to poor infrastructure and a deprived community with few opportunities. Their farmlands are gone, forests degraded, water sources polluted, and the attendant change in climatic conditions have affected farming.
It is the forest that gives farmers in this area rain to farm. But now, if God doesn't intervene, we will not have rains to grow our crops.
The indigents of Benenebin share their dilemma.
We've not gained anything. Look at our schools, toilets, and our town. We are helpless.
When they come, they promise a lot of things, but they don't fulfill these promises.
Meanwhile, Ghana has secured a $103 million World Bank loan to, among others, restore cocoa lands, engage the restoration of polluted water resources, and reclaim degraded forest lands, including the Apamprama Forest Reserve. Just before airing this report, we decided to go back to the Apamprama to gauge the situation there. We found many Chinese miners are back to mine in the forest. Some have hit the ground mining, while others have set up camp to continue mining in a forest built for reclamation.
You can see fresh excavators, about 8 drums of diesel.
Now let's take a look at the statement now from the Forestry Commission, which will be on your screen shortly. And so the attention of the Forestry Commission has been drawn to JoyNews Hotline documentary on alleged illegal mining activities in the Apamprama Forest Reserve aired yesterday evening, 4th September 2023. We thank the multimedia group for shining the light on the destruction of a large portion of this once last forest reserve and an important watershed through illegal mining. We believe such documentaries help draw attention to grave national issues where public support is urgently required to address. It is, however, important to put matters in proper perspective for the sake of the public. It goes on to say that Apamprama Forest Reserve was duly constituted in 1952 and it covers an area of approximately 35 kilometers square. Illegal alluvial gold mining has been ongoing for several decades along the banks of the Odan River that flows through the reserve. Since 2013, however, there have been incidents of illegal mining with heavy equipment excavators in this forest reserve, leading to the arrest of 3 Chinese nationals and 1 Ghanaian that year. Now, the estimated area affected was reported to be about 3 hectares. Again, on 1st February 2016, 8 persons, including 5 Chinese, were arrested for engaging in illegal mining in the reserve, and 2 excavators being used by the illegal miners seized. That can be found at graphic online. Thereafter, there have been a series of illegal mining in the reserve, with some arrests effected by the Forestry Commission. It goes on to say it will be recalled that at a recent Meet the Press held at the Ministry of Information on 2nd May 2023, the Forestry Commission reported that 34 forest reserves across the country have suffered incidences of illegal gold mining, and that apart from 3 of these reserves where the Forestry Commission had challenges in dealing with the situation, the other 31 reserves were fairly under the control of the Forestry Commission, notwithstanding occasional incursions by illegal miners. Now, the Apamprama Forest Reserve is one of the 3 forest reserves where the Commission had challenges due to the associated violence exhibited by the armed perpetrators, in addition to the Odan River and Subin Shelter Belt Forest. And as public regulator charged with the protection and sustainable management of Ghana's forests and wildlife resources, we are deeply concerned about incidents of illegal mining in forest reserves. Now, the fight against illegal mining has been arduous and multifaceted, but we continue to adopt measures aimed at coming to grips with this menace. It has serious socio-economic linkages and therefore needs to be tackled holistically. We also believe that such onslaught on the environment is an existential threat, and so we have no choice but to do all in our power to address it. We therefore call on our traditional leaders and the general public to support the Forestry Commission by providing information on illegal mining in their communities and environs, so that the Commission can act swiftly to deal with situations before when they arise. The Commission is working with other agencies to provide sustainable alternative livelihood options, especially within communities where illegal mining takes place, to address the issue of youth unemployment and poverty. We are also looking to secure support to augment key logistical requirements, especially operational vehicles, drones, etc., to improve our operational and law enforcement capabilities to enable the Forestry Commission to respond appropriately to these existential threats. Together, we will win this war. Meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo says the ban on illegal mining, among other stringent decisions taken to push back the dire impact of climate change, has yielded positive results. He was speaking at the African Climate Summit in Nairobi, Kenya.
We placed a ban on illegal mining, the phenomenon we call galamsey, which was destroying our water bodies, vegetation, and our forests. Some 20,000 young people have been engaged to plant more than 30 million trees in 2 years to create jobs and restore degraded land. These policy initiatives are already using positive results to the attainment of the SDG goals, particularly the goal of reducing our carbon emissions. Additionally, I've established an advisory group of prominent private sector chief executives who are setting up a $100 million SDGs delivery fund and a $200 million green fund to complement government's efforts at tackling climate change.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. Now, Nigeria's President Tinubu will mark his 100 days in office on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. On that same day, the Presidential Election Petition Court will deliver a judgment on the petitions filed by the People's Democratic Party, the Labour Party, and the Allied People's Party, challenging the outcome of the 2023 presidential election. Now, joining us via Zoom is Sola Jeyesime. He is the manager news and current affairs at Africa Independent Television in Abuja. We also have Dr. Don Pedro. He is the director at Atiku Abubakar campaign, as well as Chief Okwe Obono Obla. He's a lawyer, he's a public affairs analyst and politician based in Abuja. We also have James Ogochukwu. He is co-convener, Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room. Gentlemen, you are welcome to the conversation this evening. Let me start with you, Sola. This case has been running for about 6 months. I want to know, what has been the highlight of the proceedings over the period? Okay, Sola, we seem to be having some challenge with your connectivity, but I will move on to Dr. Don Pedro. He's the director of the Atiku Abubakar campaign organization. Would you say you have been able to support your claims with enough evidence to cause a rerun of the election as you seek?
The only evidences that are available in the public space in Nigeria are the evidences that have been proffered and put forward to the courts by the petitioners. The respondents, in contrast, only had half a file, and in law, I'm also a lawyer. Thank God that few of us here are lawyers. 3 things are key to reaching a judgment in a case of this nature. Number 1, what does the Constitution, the grand norm for our country, what does it say? What does the Electoral Act, which is apparently the guideline for running the elections, what does it say? Now, against that background, what about the evidences and the corroboration of same by witnesses? So in a situation where we've had this kind of very debilitating electioneering process, which has been almost like a coup d'etat, against the will and wishes of the larger majority of Nigerians, we are very convinced that we've proved, not just proved, but beyond all reasonable doubt, that the election that had on the 25th of February, the year of our Lord 2023, was a travesty, a total miscarriage of process. And as a result of that, not only are the whole world now, your eyes are on Nigeria. You are in Ghana. So everybody in Ghana, whether you are in Asalandan or you are in Aflao or you are in Takoradi or you are in Ashanti, you are in Kumasi or you are in downtown Accra, you are looking at us. But we are looking at our judiciary because a time has come for our nation to change. And we know that what is tangential to make that change happen is if our judiciary stands up to itself. My name is Dr. Pedro Obaseki. So that you put my name there as if my name is my surname.
All right. So thank you so much for that correction. But before we proceed, I want to find out from you briefly. Would you, I mean, your party be surprised if the judgment does not go in favor or in your favor, say, tomorrow?
I'm the child of a Supreme Court justice. And as our late patriarch will say, so long as the law remaineth, and as so long as the law remaineth, we are not scared about what will happen tomorrow. We just want the justices of the Appeal Court of Nigeria to follow the law, to follow both the spirit and the letter of the law, and deliver judgment blindfolded, without fear or favor. Because law is what it is. It is not the mechanical twinkling by any low-level shenanigan. The law is clear. And so long as the law remaineth, we do believe that tomorrow, I don't want to be subjudiced. I don't want to be subjudiced. The Appeal Court of Nigeria will do right by the majority of Nigerians. Of course, the international community.
Hold on for us. Let me go to Chief Obono Obula. The three petitioners are actually seeking the disqualification of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his Vice President Kashim Shettima. From where you sit, do they have solid grounds to actually emerge victorious based on what they presented to the bench? Hello, kindly unmute your device so we can hear you, sir.
The impression that this matter is before the Nigerian Supreme Court. This matter is not before the Nigerian Supreme Court. This matter is before the Presidential Election Tribunal, Election Petitions Tribunal, which is the Court of Appeal. You know, the law says that election petitions must be heard by the Court of Appeal. So, going to your question, the grounds for seeking the disqualification of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu are several. I don't think they have proved their case, very well, overwhelmingly with evidence. Let's start with the one that the president did not attend Chicago State University, the United States of America. There's evidence before the tribunal that he did attend it, and he was awarded a BSc degree in business administration. Then the other one that the Vice President Kashim Shettima was, indulged in double nomination. That at the time he was nominated the vice presidential candidate of the APC, he was a senatorial candidate. He has been cleared to contest, elections as a senator for Borno, Borno State Central Senatorial District in the northeastern part of Nigeria. That is not correct because he withdrew his nomination as soon as he was nominated by the presidential candidate of APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He withdrew his nomination. And the Supreme Court has made a pronouncement on this aspect of the case, that he correctly withdrew his nomination. So it has been taken care of, that aspect of the case. The other aspect of the case was that he was convicted for money laundering and narcotic offenses. As a matter of fact, there was no evidence before the court, before the tribunal, that Bola Ahmed Tinubu was convicted. What they presented was a civil non-conviction for official proceedings in the U.S. court. And that was in 1992. And the Nigerian law the position of Nigerian law is that, assuming that is a conviction, it is not a conviction, it's a civil proceedings. But assuming that, that proceedings is criminal, the Nigerian law has taken care of that. That if you were convicted 10 years before the date of the election you want to contest, right, that principle will not be applicable, that if you suffer a criminal conviction, you will not stand election. So this
So you believe that the petitioners do not have solid grounds with which their case can really fly?
Exactly.
Right. But hold on for us. Hold on for us. Yes. Let me also speak to Solar. This case has been running. Can you hear us? Hello? Okay, we seem to be having some challenge. I
don't think Shola is on the.
Okay, all right. So let me speak to James Ogochukwu. He is actually the convener of Nigeria Civil Society or Situation Room. Tell us the atmosphere in Nigeria, even today, a day before this judgment, this crucial judgment will be given tomorrow. What is the atmosphere like security-wise, and how are citizens reacting in terms of anticipation and all that?
Well, the atmosphere is tight as it is. The political class, the security, the supporters, and everybody are looking forward to the D-Day, which is tomorrow, with much optimism. And of course, if you understand Nigerian electoral process properly, we have a we have an electoral system that always end up in court, with everybody sticking to his gun, hoping that the court will rule in their favor. And this is what we in the civil society are seriously kicking against and advocating that election petition should be done with before swearing in any person into an office. Because why that is important is that tomorrow will mark 100 days in office, and if you check it properly, the president had not been able to settle down to face the statecraft issues because of this election petition, which for me is a distraction, sort of. So as we speak now, this issue is dragging our security into politics we're supposed not to be. Nigeria have enough security issues that they should be handling. The DSS and the army and other security operatives, as we speak, are mounting guards and issuing directives and threats on to any person that plans to, stage a protest or, try to constitute nuisance tomorrow. So these are things that we should not be looking at as a country. We have a lot of issues bothering us, and what we should be interested in how to move this country forward. So from Lagos to Abuja to every other places, the atmosphere is very tense, and everybody is watching what is going to happen tomorrow in the judgment. And of course, why we really don't like election ending up in the court is that we can't have about 95 million Nigerians registered to vote, about 26 million or so cast their votes, and at the end of the day, we'll have our 5-man panel to decide who wins or who doesn't win. It doesn't speak well of our democracy, and it's something that every stakeholder in the democratic process should work towards, how we can have a free, fair, and credible election that will end in one ballot, and a leader or a winner that everybody will accept will emerge from that process.
All right. So the civil society situation room, what are you looking forward to in terms of those who are going to either win this case or they're going to lose? What is your message to them so you can actually consolidate the democracy that Nigeria enjoys?
Well, for us, what we expect the judges to do is to look at the cases the way they are, and of course be impartial in their judgment. We've observed the election and we issue our reports. Different stakeholders have issued their reports, and of course the petitioners have their cases and all that. And just like the former speaker says, they should look at it dispassionately and have the interests of the country at heart above any other interest or any other influence or intimidation, or as the case may be. The interest and the sustenance of Nigerian democracy should be paramount in their mind as they give this judgment, without fearing anybody, knowing fully well that they themselves will live with the consequence of the judgment they are putting. So, as we, for us in the civil society, as you know, we are impartial. We are not saying that this person did this or this person did that. We are more concerned about the process of which we observe how the process went, which falls short of the threshold was set for INEC, and of course, which falls short of what INEC promised ahead of the election. And of course, we're expecting the judiciary to do the needful and give the judgment accordingly based on the rule of law guiding election, the Electoral Act, and the 1999 Constitution as amended.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us here on Joy News Prime. Becky Beggs, you here for us. What do you have in showbiz?
Well, there are a lot of things happening in showbiz, but we'll talk about Manifest, because for the Manifest fans, he has announced that an album is finished. Okay. And you'll be getting it very soon. And he's also been talking about, the industry as a whole. There's been comparison in the Ghanaian music industry about why Ghanaians are not, filling arenas and also the stadiums outside the country. And Manifest has been talking to us here.
We are a very integral part of a Pan-African movement now that's going global. And to see ourselves as like in competition with other people who are part of us, I don't want to be cost 90 in my regard. My regard is like we have to have a consideration of figuring out how to make this thing bigger creatively and commercially. But commercially comes with strategy. But strategically, how can we make this thing expand beyond our shores? And those are the things we need to consider. I despise the comparisons. I'll say it again. I despise the comparisons because we're in the same boat. Other people, they're ahead of we, but we're all in the same boat. We are here at Patorankin's release party, and one thing that struck me was that they were like, oh, he's done collaborations with like 20 Ghanaians. And the love that was flowing through that, so we're in this same boat together. We might be in different cabins in the boat at different times, but we'll all go on the deck and be like, yo, how are we going to get to this destination? So at the end of the day, like, yo, let's just put in work. I despise the comparisons. I'm not interested in the comparisons.
In a long time, and I'm wondering if the God MC is still the God MC.
Well, first of all, I'm not the boss. I am part of a camaraderie that exists. But we did inside. I think artists like myself, we bide our time, and when we bring forth something, we do. We're not bound by a schedule.
Okay, that makes sense. But it looks like, it doesn't look like. I am thinking that personally, I haven't seen you in a long long time, and I'm wondering if the God MC is still the God MC.
Well, first of all, I am part of a camaraderie that exists. Yeah, no, but we did inside. I think artists like myself, we bide our time, and when we.
Okay, I believe that's all we have for Showbiz tonight.
Yeah, we'll bring you more on that particular story in our subsequent bulletins. That'll be all.
All right. Thank you so much for watching. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Carlos Kaloni. Good night.